Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Healing Train. I am your coach, B.Von Squires, and today we're sponsored by Spirit Source Connection, where we believe that you are a multidimensional spiritual being, that you have a mind, a body, and a soul, and we have to apply our healing to all those components in order to achieve alignment and homeostasis. Well, today we're here because we have a wonderful passenger that's going to come on and tell you all about her trauma healing journey. Here on the Healing Train, ordinary people come and tell us about their extraordinary stories. And today is not going to be any different than before. So today I want to ask Miss Kathryn Brown, our passenger, to come on and say hello to the community and introduce herself to you. Kathryn, can you please come on and say hello to everyone?
Hi, thank you so much, B.Von, for having me here today. I'm really grateful and it's such a blessing to be here with all of you. Again, my name is Kathryn Brown and I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, and I'm excited to share my journey with all of you.
Thank you so much, Kathryn. Doesn't she look amazing today, guys? Look at that smile. When I first saw her, I said, "Oh my God, that smile! There is a story of gratitude behind that smile." I have to get her on the healing train, and so thank you so much for agreeing to come on here today. Okay, for those of you who know, I wrote a book and it's called The Energy Harvest, a spiritual model for the enhancement of your life. It is a 4-phase trauma healing process that begins first with identifying the trauma. Just like anything, we have to identify first, become aware of what needs to be changed or tweaked or addressed. So we have the identify phase, and then we have the mindset phase, which we talk about the mindset that is necessary for healing. That usually begins with forgiveness. At least it did for me. I had to forgive and stop blaming others in order for me to find my way forward. But once I was able to get some healing, then I was able to achieve some amazing things in my life. Was able to achieve a peace of mind which was not available to me when I was in the darkness. And I tell you what, then I was able to learn how to sustain all of the wonderful momentum and adopt some spiritual practices that allowed me to continue to stay highly motivated and moving forward with positive action. All right, guys, with no further ado, we're going to just jump right on in here with Miss Kathryn Brown. Kathryn, can you please tell us what it was like for you to identify your trauma and how were you able to do that? I know sometimes it's difficult to identify trauma because we don't know we're being traumatized, but we sure do know what it feels like to be disappointed and rejected and have fear and all of those sorts of things. And so we'd like for you to come on today and tell us in your own way how you were able to identify the trauma you're going to talk about today.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Um, so my journey actually started, um, I was adopted, and being adopted came with its own struggles. And for me, it came in the way of not believing that I was loved, that I was abandoned. And so it showed up because I had a story. I made up a story about it, and I carried that story throughout my life. And it showed up in everything that I did, how I treated myself, people I dated, just everything. So I lived a life of looking for love in all the wrong places, including, I chose to date people that were really not for me. They were abusive, mentally, physically, all the things you can think of. I also abused myself by turning to cigarettes and alcohol. And as an alcohol, I would also turn to drugs. So I was a party girl. So I wasn't treating myself in a loving way because I didn't believe that I was lovable.
Oh my
So
God.
this showed up in everything that I did. And in 2008, after living with someone, very abusive relationship, I ended up going on a healing journey. And this journey brought me to a psychologist who did energy healing and tapping and EFT. So I did that, and it served its purpose at that time. Um, and then I did things like yoga and different kinds of retreats and all these things of a very, very spiritual, but not in the way that I now lead my now that I'm now the way that my life is led now. So I went on this journey looking like doing all these healing modalities and always still felt something wasn't right. And I always felt like I was being pulled in all directions. I didn't feel like I was actually doing anything good for myself. It felt like I was always looking for the next thing to heal me. And so it was very tiring. It was a very tiring healing journey. And in 2020, um, so in 2020, I found out that I was actually conceived in rape. So the story of my birth father was a lie because I had paperwork that was given to me through my adoption about who he was. I never met him or knew anything really about him except what was written in this paper. So I carried that for 48 years. It was 48 years at that time that this is the story that I knew, the identity that I knew. So when I found out that I was conceived in rape, I felt like I lost an identity because I was living of the world. And that identity loss really hit me hard. And also in 2020, months later, I had been working for the federal government of Canada and I was with them for 20 years. At this time, it was 18 years. But for 13 of my career years, I was being bullied, harassed, and discriminated against. And in 2020, it got so bad that I actually they pushed me out onto employment insurance, which they didn't need to because I was already working at home prior to the pandemic and the lockdowns. I was already working from home because of the trauma that they had like put me through. So I was working from home. They didn't need to do what they did, but I now was on employment insurance. I've worked since I was 16 up until that point. I've never not worked. So I felt like I lost another identity. And in that, it was like two identities felt of loss in a matter of months. So I was just spiraling out of control. I was like crying every day. I didn't know who I was anymore. I'm not married. I don't have kids. And all these things, I like all my life was passing by me. Like everything that I've done in my life, I was like, I'm not, who am I? I'm nothing. I haven't done anything significant in the world. I'm a waste of space and air. That's how I was thinking. And one day I just fell to my knees. And I must say that I wasn't raised in a house. I wasn't adopted into a house with God or Jesus. And I was raised by atheists. And I fell to my knees that day because I was going to end my life. And I was ready to end my life. And I fell to my knees and I prayed out to God. And I said, God, if this is my life, I don't want it. And if you don't take it, I will. And in the same breath, I said, if it is my life, though, please take over because I clearly have no idea what I'm doing. And in that moment of surrender, it's like I heard God say, finally, she's come to me. Finally, she has chosen me. And in that moment, everything changed. I was led. I got my job back, which now I've left. Currently, I've left, but I can tell you all about what's happened since that moment. But that was my moment of really leaning into to God and what He has for me.
Oh my goodness, Kathryn. Wow. What? You have already taken us on quite the journey in just simply identifying the trauma. It sounds like you had quite a few different traumas hit you at the same time. Okay, so first of all, you're letting some woman or man out there know that if you have been adopted, it's okay that you have been adopted. There's nothing wrong with you because you've been adopted. First of all, that's what you let us know today. And then
Yeah.
secondly, you also let us know that you can find out things about yourself later on in life and still live through it. So what you were telling us here about your trauma is not only were you adopted, okay, then you find out that the story they told you about your birth father has been fabricated all these years. So you grew up, number one, with an identity of being adopted, and then knowing who your birth father was. And then they tell you that no, this isn't the truth, that you were conceived as a result of rape. And I can only imagine what you could have possibly be feeling at that moment. at that moment when you discovered the whole life that you have built up until now has been a lie. And who are you? Oh my goodness, I can only imagine how devastating that must have felt. Can you tell us in a couple of words what that felt like? What in that moment when you discovered that everything that you knew up until that moment was not true? What was that feeling? What did you feel like?
Devastation. I cried for probably like 2 days. And I was in the world of like the new age at that time. So I had a lot of people reaching out to me because I made a post, which I never had done before. And people were praying over me. They were like doing for like days. And I ended up going to see my psychologist at that time, and we did an energy healing for my birth mother. And it was very, at that time, it was very dark energy that came off of me. My energy was good, but I had been carrying around this other. And yeah, it was
Wow.
intense.
Oh my.
And it just I just know that everything led me to where I am today. And I'm just
Oh
so
yeah.
grateful. And I know that it's generational. It's not even my generational and my family stuff. It's anyone that's been raped, it's anyone that's been adopted, it's anyone that's been conceived in rape, it's anyone that's had this kind of life. Like I I'm here standing because of that, and that's why God brought me through all these things, because he's using it for his good, and it's just so beautiful.
Absolutely. There is a story here. You just like me, I went through a lifetime of low self-esteem, a lifetime of acting out in different partners. Like you admitted, the party girl. I was the party girl too. And I turned to all of those different vices, and I didn't treat myself well either. But the beautiful thing about it is that we don't look anything like what we've been through, honey. The grace of God is on
Yes.
life. You
Hallelujah.
know what I mean? And that is such a beautiful thing to know, that even though we went through those things, God was right there with us, keeping us as we went through, as He showed us the things that we needed to learn in order to be the people we are today. And
Absolutely.
that is the beautiful thing about it. So I want to encourage anybody that's going through something right now. I want you to know that you are not going through it alone. You may feel like you're alone, but I'm telling you that God is walking right beside you. And there's some things that He needs to show you. There's some breaking that He needs to do in you so that He can do a good work through you. And this is all part of the process. Would you agree, Kathryn?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I was actually thinking about this today, and I was like, the things that I've done in my life, like I remember people always saying, I can't believe you're still alive. I can't believe you're still alive. And it was numerous times. And now, and I actually was in my prayer this morning, and I was like, wow, God is like, I knew God was with me my whole life, but to see it that way was like, he's been walking me through and protecting me my whole life because of this moment now, because of
Yes.
him now. And
Yes.
it's just like, wow, like what has he got planned for, like who am I serving? I'm serving the best God in the world, and I'm gonna be out in the world serving him. And I'm just,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's the best relationship I've ever had.
I know. Whenever I think about it, I feel so honored and so blessed to be a vessel. So honored and blessed to be able to share my trauma healing journey with others so that I can show people what's possible, so that
Yeah,
we can show people what's possible. That's
absolutely.
exactly what this platform is all about, is showing people that yes, you too can be a product of rape. Yes, you too can actually be raped, that was my story. Yes, you too can go through these things and still come out on the other end because God's got you the whole way. And so now that we've been able to identify the traumas, let's talk about the mindset. I was so angry and I was so lost and I was so confused about who I was and who I was meant to be, and why, God, would you allow all of these things to happen in my life? So I had to go to building a mindset for healing. Through the identifying phase, then I was able to come to realize that God did take me through all those things. And that helped me to develop the mindset that no, I'm not going through these things alone, that God is right here with me. And the first thing I had to do was forgive Forgive those who, trespassed against me.
Yeah.
Forgive those, and then also forgive myself for harming myself throughout the whole process. Because not only was I harmed, I also harmed myself through some
Yeah.
of my choices. And so, what was the mindset that you had to develop in order to make it through the identifying all of these things, all of these traumas, and the loss of your identity on two separate occasions? How are you able to wrap your mind around moving forward?
Well, it did start with the previous like journey of like, the EFT tapping and things like that. So breaking through worthiness has been like being knowing that I'm worthy of love, that I am loved. I didn't really know that what love was. So really learning to love myself. And that was the journey I went on. When I really broke through though, it was when I surrendered my life to Christ. I mean, that's unconditional love. Like I've never known love. Like I've been searching for love my whole life up until that point. And it was oh, I was always like, people talk about self-love and you got to self-love. And I'm like, it's not even about self-love. It's just loving. It's like real unconditional love. And bringing that love, like I always thought I was such a loving person, even with all the traumas, that I was always giving to others. But like, was I truly ever really giving to others if I wasn't loving myself? So you
Mm,
know what I mean? Like, was it
I-
even real? if i
mm.
if i couldn't love myself, if I wasn't loving myself, that love that I was giving to others wasn't even real.
Oh my goodness, that is so powerful what you just said. And I can imagine, for me, I can see what you're saying. How can
Yeah.
I love someone else and call it love if I'm not loving myself? So I think for me, it was more of like, if I love someone, this was what it would be like. Like it was a fantasy of love, that it wasn't a
Yeah.
real thing yet. It was just something that was created in my mind, but not something that was actually coming from my heart yet, because I didn't know how, like you said. I wasn't capable of loving anyone else until I was able to love myself, but I sure tried.
Yeah. Oh,
I sure tried.
absolutely.
The thing about it is, I can even admit that sometimes that love that I had maybe have been manipulative. Maybe
Yeah.
it would serve me in some kind of way, even if at the moment I didn't realize it, or maybe I did realize it. I don't know. Maybe I could have realized it and used love as a weapon, or used love
Yes.
as a commodity or something like that to get what I wanted out of the situation. Heck,
Yeah.
before we know Christ, before we know ourselves, before we can have any kind of pure love, that's about the best we can get, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I can see how I manipulated situations because I wanted to be loved. I
Mm,
wanted to feel that. And if I did this for this person, then they would love me back.
mhm.
So really I wasn't really loving until I was loved by God, until I knew, not until I was loved by God. I've always been loved by God, but
Yeah.
to know that I'm loved. Like God is teaching me and has taught me how to be loved and how I get to love.
Oh my goodness, that's so beautiful. Except
Yeah.
especially the part about how I get to love, and the fact that
Mhm.
we are now able to get love for ourselves. I remember crying out to God and asking Him to show me who I am, because I understand that. And I can definitely relate to just not knowing who I am. I have been told so many lies. Oh, you're not this. Oh, you're never going to this. And oh, blah, 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 blah. And so then it's fighting through all that contradiction, because it's like, yes, I am somebody. Oh, yes, I am going to be something, but it was just like that evil and
Yeah,
good energy that was conflicting on the inside of me. And
absolutely.
finally, I just said, God, please show me in your eyes who I am. And it's almost going to bring me to tears, because what he told me, I was always wanting to be the rose, because everyone coveted the rose. The rose was just so beautiful. The rose was just so delicate. It was just so velvety, soft, and all of these things. I wanted to be the rose. God said, no, you are a sunflower. He said, "You're a sunflower and you're always looking up to me and you're always praising me." And I was like, wow, that's how you see me? And then he told me,
Wow.
"You're not a rose, so stop trying to be a rose. You're a sunflower."
Oh,
And
that's beautiful.
yes, it was. I mean, it is beautiful. And so after then, it's like I stopped looking to others to define me. And I was able to look to
Absolutely.
God then to say, who am I? Show me who I am. Show me what I need to see. Tell me what I need to hear. Connect me to all the people for your glory, for your purpose. And so that's what it's been like for me. But this isn't my interview. This is all about you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Thank you for bringing that up because I wouldn't have had you not prompted it within me. So thank you. And so
Yeah.
now, as we continue to move forward, talking about the achieve phase of the book. So now that we're able to get a new mindset, now that we're able to see ourselves through God's eyes and understand and experience the love through His, His love for us, now
Yeah.
we can go and achieve some wonderful things in our lives. For me, I was able to achieve, you know, um, getting clean and staying clean. I was able to work with my therapist, just like you said you work with yours, to find out that I have some assets. You know what I mean? I really have assets. I'm not just one big walking liability. I have some assets, and I was able to start putting those assets to work. And so, for you, what are the wonderful things that you've been able to achieve now that you've found healing from your trauma?
Oh, amazing. Well, I've been really open to God's guidance. Because I've heard God my whole life, even with all those relationships, I heard him say, don't do it. And I would be like, no, I'm gonna go. But I didn't know it was God at that time. So
Mhm.
now I'm really open to his guidance. And God has led me to a superfoods company where I am like nourishing my body on a cellular level. So my healing journey with now is all about like making sure that my vessel is the cleanest it can be.
Mhm.
And so I was led to that. I was led to a leadership program where I graduated. I got baptized during my leadership program. And then I went on to staff and mentor in, I staffed two and mentored in three of them. Um, I graduated from that, and then I'm standing for other people and their transformation. So it's a transformational leadership company that I was working with,
Ooh.
and I am taking on the federal government of Canada now for the bullying, harassment, and discrimination. God is leading me powerfully, and it's all in His hands. I've planted the seeds and did what I have to do, and it's going to courts and all this stuff, and I just know He's handling it. Yeah, so I'm taking on the federal government of Canada right now. I started my own job, or my own company called Take Back Your Health, which is leadership, mindset, nutrition, and just all over health and mindset. And um, I wrote a book. I'm in the change that well, I'm in a collaboration book with called The Change. And this is all happening because I'm listening to what God has for me. And I'm not listening to the outside world. I spend every moment, as soon as I wake up every day, I spend with God, and I start my day with God. I ask him, what do you have for me today? Lead me, be in all my conversations, all my interactions. Because before this, the enemy was at me. The enemy was
Mm.
trying to take me out since day
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, and I used to hear, like, I used to talk myself out of my day. Like, I'd be in bed and I'd be like, no, you don't got nothing to do. You don't got anything to do today. What are you going to do? You're nothing. And I'd hear this, but I'd also had spirits attacking me. I've had
Mm.
spirits attacking me my whole life. And so getting up every day was a challenge for me before Christ, and really loving who I am. And then this now, what's open for me is I wake up and I wake up with a bounce in my step, and I'm like, hey God, thank you for another day. Like I'm just like ready to go. I wake up with a smile on my face. I'm a child of God, and it's just the most freeing place I've ever been in my life. Like I I look forward to what God has for me each day. And I
Mm.
know that he's moving powerfully, and he's waking up his children. His children are being woken up faster than any other time right now in this time. Like we were made for such a time as this. And it's like, wow. So all the things I'm accomplishing, it's living. I'm living a life worth living. And it's because of my relationship with God.
Oh yes, I can certainly appreciate that and identify with that. Just the other day, I think it was yesterday, God was speaking to me and he says, "You know what happened to all your gratitude?" He said, "When I gave you this new position, when I gave you the car, when I gave you all these things, you were so ecstatic. You know what? Your life is still there. What happened to all the gratitude? Nothing has changed. I'm still that God. You're still in that same wonderful place. What happened? I need you to stop looking forward to the next thing and be grateful for what you have right now." So that was my message yesterday, was to reenact my gratitude. And I was just so filled and just so overwhelmed, to hear him say, "Hey, you know what? Your life is still great. Your life is still on top. Your life is still abundant and magnificent and all those wonderful things." So realize that you don't need to go look for the next thing because you already have that right now. And so I was like, "Oh my God, thank you for reminding me." And I was just so energized all over again of the greatness and the goodness of God. And
Yes.
and then today he says, "I want to remind you that you're the vessel. Like, get out of the driver's seat. You're a passenger here." And he
Yeah.
reminded me that you gave me permission to run your life, so come on, let me do it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I can get in the driver's seat. I can think I know where he's taking me and I want to get there faster than he's taking me there. And it's like, whoa, slow down, roll it back in. You know what I mean? We're not there yet. But
Yeah.
what I'm really, really excited about, and you're very exciting to talk to about this, is the walk that we have with him, the daily walk. Thank you, God, for waking me up today. Let this day be all about you. And then tomorrow we just do it all over again.
Yes, exactly. It's surrendering every day to God and giving it all to him and letting him have his way with you the day. Like I'm constantly in gratitude all day throughout the day. I'll be like, I know that was you, or if something comes up and I'm feeling a certain way and I feel like I'm being attacked, I'll be like, God, you know what's going on in my mind right now? I need you. And as soon as I go to, he wants our first. He wants our first in everything.
Everything. Yeah.
And when I connected to that, when I started realizing that, I don't go to anything anymore. If God leads me there and he wants me to do something, like I don't do people's courses or anything anymore. Like I don't do any healing journeys with anyone else anymore unless God leads me there.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh,
every
yeah.
day I wake up and I give it all to God. It's all God. And he's just like he leads me. He's taking care of me. And
Mm,
he leads me to the people that I'm meant to talk to. He gives me the wisdom to speak out and he gets the message he wants out. It's not even about me. Like you said, we're the vessel. And all we have to do is say, hey God, I'm here, use me. And it's the best. I've been used my whole life, and this is the only time that I've actually ever really loved being used.
Isn't it? It's a difference, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it's totally different. Like I think about like the way the world was, and it's like everything's so twisted and manipulated. And then, but when you think about all the things that are on this side of the fence and what God does, it's like He actually uses everything for good, and everything is in a good way. Like
yeah.
I'm a sheep, and in the world, a sheep is someone who follows and they're like bad. And I'm like, no, I want to be shepherd. I want someone to shepherd me. Like I need that. And it's like when my eyes open, the scales remove and you're just like open to all of it. And it's that trusting, to trust God, like to give everything and have faith, a mustard seed of faith, right?
Oh,
It
yeah.
takes only just a mustard seed of faith. And just to walk in that, walk by faith and not by sight. Like we don't
Yeah.
have to see it to believe it. Like I'm a living testament to his power and his redeeming love and his forgiveness and just everything. And I'm just so grateful to be here and share the good news with people because it is good news. And I've lived all of it. I've had everything that you can think of happen to someone. It's happened to me.
Wow, that is just so amazing. And here you are, yet still vibrant and still full of joy and still, serving a God, that you believe in and that brought you through all of that for a time such as this. Wow, we're having such a great time today, guys. Oh my goodness. All right, so we're gonna move on to the sustain phase. And so we know that it's God's love and his power that sustains you daily. But we want to ask you just a little bit about your routine. Like how do you sustain all of this wonderful momentum and that beautiful smile on your face? What are the little wisdoms that you have for us today to help us realize that we have to be intentional about sustaining the momentum and the healing that we've gotten over the years, over the days, over the weeks, over the months. We have to be intentional about that. What can you say for us about that, Kathryn?
Well, again, it does start, my days start with God. As soon as I wake up, I talk with him. I also ask for repentance and forgiveness because I don't know what I did in my sleep and just things like that. And I really just ask him to be in everything, my decisions, my interactions, my conversations. And then I just give it to him and I show up. I show up and I show up with a grateful and a joyful heart. Like I show up happy in it, not in like, I've never really been a grumpy person even before Christ. Like I was always very like happy and joyful.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, for me, it's nourishing my body, waking up, and first I spend my time with God. Then I'm drinking lemon water in the morning. I'm moving my body, and I'm really nourishing my body on a cellular level. I'm taking in good nutrients with my superfoods, and then I go for a walk. And I do my prayers in the morning, but sometimes when I'm walking, I start to pray, and I pray for people as I'm walking, and I'm giving out even without thinking about it,
Mhm.
like I'll walk by someone, I'll be like, oh God, can I pray over that person? And like it's about giving and generosity and that's how I lead my life. That's how he's leading my life, like to
Mhm.
be in generosity to others. So to really work being my I don't actually control my day. I don't really do anything except show up. And I wake up and I'm just like, hey, whatever it is you want me to do today, do it. And, like it's that
That.
simple. Like
I
it's
love
that simple. Like I used to try to like control it all, and it's like I get in this like whoa. But it's like as soon as you hand it over, it's like okay, this is good. I just need to show up. I get to take the action, and not get too involved in it in my own head. Because then when that happens, I ask God to step in, and
it.
I'm very mindful with that comment. I've lived alone for a long time, and so the enemy had been like I lived alone with the enemy for a long time.
Okay.
And now I live with God. Like God is my he's my boss. He's my roommate. he's he's my my therapist. He's my healer. He's everything.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
absolutely everything.
Yes. Wow, guys, did you guys hear that? Did you imagine that you could serve a God that could be all of those wonderful things to you all in one place? Wow, how exciting is that? Well, I tell you, we are certainly having a great time today here with Miss Kathryn Brown. And if you guys are just now joining, I want to tell you that we have had an amazing conversation where Kathryn identified her trauma after being adopted and then finding out the story they told her was not true, losing her identity, and then being bullied and harassed by the federal government of Canada. She has been just gone through so much. But God was with her the whole time, and he helped her with a mindset of forgiveness and a mindset that allowed him to do a good work in her life. Then he gave her the ability and the power to achieve some wonderful things. She's an author. Oh my goodness, she has her own company. She has been helping people transform their lives for the last few years. And I am just so excited for her to bring that information to us today. Aren't you guys having a great time? Well, just like everything, all good things must come to an end. And so we're going to thank Miss Kathryn Brown for coming here and sharing her amazing, transformative story with us today about her trauma healing. And so, Kathryn, before we leave, is there anything that you'd like to wrap up and tell people how they can actually reach you in case people want to reach you for your services?
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for having me, B.Von. I'm so excited and so grateful to be here. And I know this is God bringing us together. And thank you for everyone that is watching or watching the replay. But yeah, you can reach me on social media. I'm on my Instagram is alive in the word 3. And I also have Kathryn Brown on Facebook, but I also have a Linktree link as well. So you can find those links on my social medias as well. Um, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm so grateful to have been here today. So thank you.
You are so welcome, and we're just so honored to have your presence here. All right, guys, with that, we're going to say goodbye. But in the meantime, before we see you again, I'm going to pray and ask God to bless you real good. And that thing that you're manifesting for, I want you to keep manifesting, keep moving forward with positive action, knowing that everything that God has for you is on its way to you now. All right, guys, until next time, I love you so much and take care. And we'll see you next time on the Healing Train. Choo choo.